Welcome to True Crime Case Files, the podcast that delves into the most perplexing criminal mysteries. In today's episode, we explore the chilling case of Henry Lelaine, a successful CFO whose life was tragically cut short by an unknown assailant. Join us as we uncover the shocking truth behind his mysterious death. The victim in this story is Henry Lelaine, a 57-year-old successful CFO of Blue Shield, one of the largest insurance companies in the state of North Carolina. Henry was a pillar of the community, living in a $1.2 million colonial-style mansion in the affluent neighborhood of Governor's Club in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Married to Audrey Lelaine, a former Miss Massachusetts, for 30 years. Henry relished his role as a devoted father. He had raised 3 children, Alex, Ben, and Claire, all of whom had gone on to attend prestigious Ivy League colleges. Henry was known for his unwavering dedication to his family and his impeccable work ethic. He was a devout Catholic, a generous philanthropist, and a respected leader in his field. He was 57 years old and in the prime of his life. But in January of 2009, Henry's life would take a tragic turn. Henry Lelaine would be found dead in his own home under circumstances that baffled investigators. The once idyllic image of his life would begin to unravel, revealing hidden secrets and complex relationships. Who killed Henry Lelaine and why? How did the killer get into his secure home, and how did he escape without leaving any traces? What secrets did Henry hide behind his perfect facade, and what clues did he leave behind? This is the story of Henry Lelaine, a man who had everything and lost it all in a matter of seconds. The morning of January 19, 2009 was supposed to be a normal day for Henry Lelaine, a 57-year-old CFO of a leading insurance company in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He had woken up early, as usual, and headed to his home office to check his emails and prepare for a conference call. He had a busy schedule ahead of him, but he was looking forward to spending the weekend with his wife, Audrey, who was returning from a trip to Boston to visit her sister. But Henry's plans were abruptly cut short by a deadly intruder. Sometime between 8 and 9 a.m., someone entered Henry's office through a broken window on the ground floor of the building. The intruder climbed the stairs to the second floor, where Henry's office was located, and shot him once in the chest with a 9mm handgun. The bullet pierced Henry's heart, killing him instantly. The intruder then fled the scene, leaving behind no clues or motives. Henry's body was discovered by Audrey, who arrived home around 9:30 a.m. She had taken a taxi from the airport, as Henry had told her he would be busy and couldn't pick her up. She entered the house through the front door, using her spare key, and called out for Henry. When she got no answer, she went upstairs to his office, thinking he might be on the phone. She opened the door and saw him slumped in his chair, blood staining his shirt. His computer was still on, showing a Word document with some financial figures. She screamed and called 911. The police would arrive within minutes and cordoned off the crime scene, baffled by the motiveless murder of Henry Lelaine. Who would want to kill such a successful and beloved person? Was it a random act of violence or a carefully planned assassination? And how did the killer manage to escape without being seen or heard? These were the questions that haunted everyone as they tried to unravel the mystery of Henry's death. As the news of Henry Lelaine's death spread, the Chapel Hill community was stunned and saddened. Henry was a respected and successful CFO of a major insurance company, as well as a loving husband and father of 3. He had no known enemies or troubles, and his life seemed perfect. Who would want to kill him, and why? The police, led by Detective George Drankles, were determined to find out. They arrived at Henry's house shortly after his wife, Audrey, called 911. She had found him dead in his home office, shot in the chest, with his computer still on. She had just returned from a trip to Boston, where she had visited her sister. She told the police that Henry had stayed behind to work and that they had spoken on the phone the night before. She said he sounded normal and happy, and that he had no plans to meet anyone that morning. The police searched the house and the office, looking for clues. They found no signs of forced entry, except for a broken window on the ground floor, near the back door. The window was covered by a curtain, and the police speculated that the killer had used it to enter and exit the building. However, nothing was missing or disturbed. Henry's wallet, laptop, cell phone, and other valuables were all in place. The police also found no fingerprints, DNA, or other traces of the killer. The only piece of evidence they had was the bullet that had killed Henry. It was a 9mm round, fired from a handgun. The police ran a ballistics test, hoping to match it to a registered weapon, but the results came back negative. The gun was either unregistered or had been modified to avoid detection. The police interviewed Henry's coworkers, neighbors, friends, and family, hoping to find a motive or a suspect. They learned that Henry was a hard-working and honest businessman who had worked for the same insurance company for over 20 years. He had risen through the ranks to become the CFO, earning a six-figure salary and a reputation for integrity. He had no conflicts or disputes with anyone at work, as far as anyone knew. He was also a devoted family man who had raised 3 children with Audrey, his wife of 30 years. All of his children had graduated from Ivy League colleges and were pursuing their own careers. Henry had a close relationship with all of them and was proud of their achievements. He also had a large circle of friends who described him as generous, kind, and fun-loving. He had no vices or secrets as far as anyone knew. He was a model citizen who had everything to live for. The police were baffled by the seemingly motiveless murder of Henry Lane. They had no leads, no suspects, no witnesses. Just a dead body, a bullet, and a broken window. They had a mystery that defied explanation and a case that would haunt them until it was solved. As the police searched for clues and motives in the murder of Henry Lane, they turned their attention to his wife, Audrey Lane. Audrey, a 52-year-old homemaker and mother of 3, had been married to Henry for 30 years. Audrey had supported Henry's career while raising their 3 children who had all followed in their father's footsteps and attended Ivy League colleges. Audrey and Henry seemed to have a happy and stable marriage with no signs of trouble or infidelity. Audrey had an alibi for the morning of the murder. She had been in Boston visiting her sister, who had recently undergone surgery for cancer. She had flown back to Chapel Hill on the same day, taking a taxi from the airport to her house. She had found Henry's body in his home office and had immediately called 911. She had been hysterical and inconsolable, according to the first responders. She had cooperated with the police and had given them access to her phone, laptop, and bank accounts. She had nothing to hide, she had said. But the police had a nagging suspicion that Audrey was not telling the whole truth. They had learned that Henry had a life insurance policy worth $1 million, and that Audrey was the sole beneficiary. They had also discovered that Audrey had secretly taken out a second mortgage on their house, without Henry's knowledge. She had accumulated a large debt due to her addiction to online gambling. She had been playing poker and slots on various websites, such as PokerStars and Full Tilt Poker, using fake names and credit cards. She had lost thousands of dollars and had been unable to pay back her loans. She had been desperate for money, a way out of her financial troubles. The police confronted Audrey with their findings and asked her to take a polygraph test. Audrey agreed, but failed the test miserably. She had lied about her gambling problem and her debt. Audrey Lane, the seemingly devoted wife and mother, had turned out to be a troubled addict. She had shocked and devastated her family, friends, and community. She had become the prime suspect in the case of Henry Lane's murder. The police were puzzled by the murder of Henry Lane, a successful and respected CFO of a large insurance company in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They had only a dead body, a bullet, a broken window, and a mystery that seemed unsolvable. But then, a breakthrough. The police discovered a hidden folder on Henry's computer, containing a trove of emails, photos, and documents. The folder revealed a shocking secret. Henry had another wife, whom he had married 10 years ago and whom he had kept hidden from his first wife, Audrey. The other wife was Jill Miller Lane, a 51-year-old manager of a kindergarten in Raleigh, a city about 30 miles away from Chapel Hill. The police tracked down Jill and confronted her with their findings. Jill was shocked and devastated, not only by Henry's death, but also by his deception. She had no idea that he had another wife and family, whom he had never mentioned to her. She had believed that he was divorced and that she was his only wife. She had trusted him and loved him and had no reason to doubt him. She had no involvement in his murder, she swore. According to Jill, she had met Henry online on a dating website called Harmony, where they had both lied about their marital status. They had fallen in love and had eloped in Las Vegas. Without telling anyone, they had rented an apartment in Raleigh where they had lived together on weekends, while Henry worked in Chapel Hill during the week. Jill had 2 children from a previous marriage, whom Henry had treated as his own. He had paid for their education, their hobbies, and their vacations. He had been a loving husband and a caring stepfather, according to Jill. The police interrogated Jill and searched her apartment. They found no evidence of foul play or any connection to the killer. They also verified her alibi for the morning of the murder. She had been at work at the kindergarten, where she had several witnesses. She had a clean record and no criminal history. She had no motive or means to kill Henry. Jill Miller Lalaine, the second wife of Henry Lalaine, had turned out to be an innocent victim of his lies. She had been duped and betrayed by the man she loved, who had led a double life. She had shocked and confused the investigators, who had to look elsewhere for answers. She had added a new twist to the case of Henry Lalaine's murder. As the investigation into Henry Lalaine's murder continued, the police uncovered another shocking revelation. Henry had a third wife, Tonya Sanchez, a 22-year-old nursing student at the University of North Carolina. Tonya and Henry had met at a Starbucks near the campus in September 2008 and had a whirlwind romance. Henry proposed to Tonya in December, and they eloped to Las Vegas on New Year's Eve. Tonya was blissfully unaware of Henry's other marriages and believed she was his one and only love. According to her, she had lived in a small apartment, while Henry had visited her sporadically, telling her he was busy with work. Tonya had believed that Henry was divorced and that she was his only wife. She had also believed that he was wealthy and that she would inherit his fortune. The police interrogated Tonya at the Chapel Hill Police Department. They asked her about her relationship with Henry, her whereabouts on the day of the murder, and her knowledge of Henry's finances. Tonya was visibly shaken and emotional during the questioning. She insisted that she loved Henry and had nothing to do with his death. She said she had been at school, attending a biology class, where she had several witnesses. She said she had no clue about Henry's other wives or his money. She said she was shocked and devastated by the news. The police checked Tonya's alibi and found it to be true. They also searched her apartment and found no evidence of any involvement in the murder. They could not find any connection between Tonya and the killer. Tonya was released from custody, but remained under suspicion. The police wondered if Tonya was telling the truth, or if she was a clever liar who had orchestrated a perfect crime. The case of Henry Lalaine's murder took a surprising twist when the police uncovered a shocking secret on Tonya Sanchez's phone. Tonya, a 22-year-old student at the University of North Carolina, was Henry's third and youngest wife. She had eloped with him to Las Vegas on New Year's Eve, unaware of his other marriages. But Tonya was not the faithful spouse she claimed to be. She was cheating on Henry with another man. The police found a series of sexually explicit text messages between Tonya and a lover. The lover was Danny Volton, a 23-year-old college student and Tonya's classmate. The messages revealed that Tonya and Danny had been having a passionate affair since November 2008 when they met at a local gym. The messages also showed that Tonya and Danny had a plan to get rid of Henry and run away with his money. One of the messages, dated January 15, 2009, read, "Babe, I can't wait to be with you. Just a few more days and we'll be free. Henry is leaving for a business trip tomorrow. He'll be gone for a week. This is our chance. We have to do it now." Another message, dated January 16, 2009, read, "I love you, Tonya. I'm ready to do this. I have the gun. I'll be at your place tonight. We'll make it look like a robbery. No one will suspect us. Trust me, baby. We'll be rich and happy." The police were stunned by this discovery. They realized that Tonya and Danny were the prime suspects in Henry's murder. They had conspired to kill him and make it look like a break-in. They had hoped to cash in on his life insurance policy and his estate, and had underestimated the police's ability to trace their phone records and expose their plot. The case of Henry Lalaine's murder was about to take a dramatic turn. The police had uncovered a shocking secret on Tonia Sanchez's phone. She was having an affair with another man, and they had planned to kill Henry for his money. But who was this man, and how did he execute the murder? The police traced the phone number of Tonia's lover and identified him as Danny Volton, a 23-year-old UNC student. Danny was a handsome and charming young man who had met Tonia in November 2008 when they met at a local gym. They had hit it off instantly and soon began a passionate affair. Danny was also a greedy and ruthless schemer who had learned about Henry's wealth and decided to get his hands on it. He had also manipulated Tonia with love of lies and greed. Danny had convinced Tonia to marry Henry, telling her it was the only way to secure his fortune. He had also persuaded Tonia to help him kill Henry and claim his money. He had told her that Henry was cheating on her and that he deserved to die. He had also told her that he loved her and that they would run away together after the murder. On January 19, 2009, Danny put the plan into action. He drove to Henry's house in Chapel Hill, armed with a gun he had bought online. He found Henry in his home office, working on his computer. He shot him once in the chest, killing him instantly. Then he left the scene, making sure to leave no traces behind. Afterwards, he called Tonia and told her it was done. They celebrated their success and looked forward to their wealthy future together. But their future was short-lived. The police traced Danny's phone and found him at his dorm room. They arrested him and searched his room. They found the 9mm handgun that had killed Henry, hidden under his bed. They also found a plane ticket to Colombia, booked for the next day. Danny had planned to escape with Tonia after killing Henry, but his plan had failed and he had been caught. The police had solved the case of Henry Lalaine's murder, but the victim's family was left with a bitter taste. They had learned that Henry had betrayed them with his bigamy, and that he had been killed by his greedy and unfaithful wife and her lover. They felt a mix of relief and anguish as they tried to cope with the loss of their father and husband. The case of Henry Lalaine's murder reached its climax in the courtroom. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Isabel Meters, a seasoned and respected lawyer, built a strong case against Danny Volton, the 23-year-old UNC student who had killed Henry for his money. Mears presented the evidence of Danny's affair with Tonia Sanchez, Henry's bigamist third wife, and their plan to murder him and inherit his fortune. Mears also showed the jury the sexually explicit text messages between Danny and Tonia, which revealed their motive and their method. Mears argued that Danny was a cold-blooded and greedy killer, who had no remorse for his actions. The defense, represented by Stephen McPherson, a renowned and aggressive attorney, tried to cast doubt on the prosecution's case. McPherson challenged the validity of the phone records, claiming they could have been tampered with. McPherson also suggested that Tonia was the real mastermind behind the murder, and that Danny was a knave and manipulated lover who had been coerced into killing Henry. McPherson appealed to the jury's sympathy, portraying Danny as a young and impressionable man who had made a terrible mistake. The trial lasted for 2 weeks and was closely followed by the public. The victim's family attended every day of the trial, hoping for justice. They had to endure the painful details of Henry's death and the shocking revelations of his bigamy. They also had to face the accused killer, who showed no signs of remorse or guilt. The jury deliberated for 3 hours and returned with a verdict of guilty. Danny Volton was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge said that Danny had committed a heinous and premeditated crime and that he deserved the maximum penalty. The victim's family felt a sense of relief and closure as they saw Danny being escorted out of the courtroom. They also felt a mix of anguish and confusion as they tried to make sense of Henry's life and death. The case of Henry Lalaine's murder had a profound impact on the lives of all those involved, especially his wife and family, his mistress and accomplice, and his victim's family. Audrey Lalaine, Henry's first and legal wife, who had been married to him for 30 years, tried to cope with the grief and the shock of learning about his double life. She sought comfort in her children, who had also been devastated by their father's death and deception. She also sought counseling for her gambling addiction and joined a support group for widows. She hoped to find peace and forgiveness and to move on with her life. Jill Miller Lalaine, Henry's second wife, who had been married to him for 10 years, also struggled to deal with the pain and the anger of being lied to and cheated on. She focused on her children, who had lost their stepfather, whom they had loved and respected. She also focused on her work as the manager of a kindergarten in Raleigh, where she found joy and purpose in helping young children. She hoped to heal and to find love again and to put the past behind her. Tonia Sanchez, Henry's third and youngest wife, who had been married to him for 6 months, faced the consequences of her actions and her choices. She had been an accomplice to murder and had betrayed and killed the man she had married. She had also been betrayed and used by her lover, Danny Volton, who had manipulated her into helping to kill Henry. She returned to her home country of Colombia without a degree from UMC. She had only regret and remorse, and the knowledge that she had wasted her life. The community, which had been shocked and saddened by the murder, tried to recover and to learn from the tragedy. They realized that appearances can be deceiving and that people can have dark and hidden sides. They also realized that greed and lust can lead to violence and death. They hoped to find wisdom and compassion and to prevent such crimes from happening again. And so ends another chapter in the true crime case files. The chilling case of Henry Lalaine's murder serves as a reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly idyllic lives. Join us next time as we delve into another perplexing criminal mystery.
Hey, true crime case solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe, true crime case solvers.